Since the Trump administration has invited the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman to the White House for the first time in 7 years, now is a good time to remind you that MBS is responsible for ordering the assassination and subsequent dismemberment of a Washington Post journalist. Jamal Khashoggi was a US-based Saudi journalist living in exile in the United States because of his critical writings of the Saudi Arabian government. And in October of 2018, Jamal Khashoggi was lured into the Saudi consulate in Istanbul, Turkey, where he was literally never seen alive again. Now, Khashoggi had been critical of the Saudi Arabian government ever since MBS became its de facto ruler. He was critical of the hardline Wahhabi traditions. He was critical of MBS's response to women's rights advocacy groups. He specifically condemned Saudi Arabia's arrests of women's rights advocates involved in the Women to Drive movement and anti-male guardianship campaign. He also criticized Saudi diplomatic disputes like with Lebanon and Canada. He criticized their blockade on Qatar or the war in Yemen. And MBS was caught on record saying that he would go after Khashoggi with a bullet for tarnishing his image. And the opportunity arose for him in 2018. The Saudi government had learned by using Israeli spyware that they implanted on Khashoggi's devices that he was planning to get married. They had actually bugged his device and his fiance's device with the Pegasus spyware software manufactured in Israel. So when it was determined that he needed to file paperwork for his impending marriage with the consulate, they set a trap to have him executed. Now, Jamal had tried to go to the Washington embassy to retrieve his documents first, where he was denied, which raises the question of US complicity, but he was then lured to the Saudi Arabian consulate in Istanbul, Turkey, where a team of 15 men was waiting to ambush him. CCTV footage showed Jamal Khashoggi entering the consulate at roughly 1:14 p.m. There is no footage of him leaving because he was dismembered in that very building. Investigators concluded that while he was in the building, Jamal Khashoggi was forcibly restrained after a struggle in which they injected him with a massive amount of drugs that led him to overdose. And then they dismembered his body with a bone saw. They carried the bits and pieces of his body out of the consulate in duffel bags and suitcases. And in the investigations that followed, the US government, the CIA, concluded that the Saudi Crown Prince, MBS, is the one who ordered that hit. And he's faced no significant consequences for it whatsoever. I mean, the Trump administration continued to push the narrative that Jamal Khashoggi was a jihadist, a passionate member of the Muslim Brotherhood, as a way to justify and legitimize his literal murder. And now, despite all of this evidence, MBS sits proudly in Washington, because that's what the US thinks of the murder of journalists.